600 Jewish prisoners escaped a Nazi death camp. They killed 11 SS guards with axes and knives. This is the only successful mass escape in Holocaust history. October 14, 1943, Sobibor death camp. 250,000 Jews had been murdered. Then 600 prisoners fought back. A Soviet prisoner of war organized Jewish prisoners into a resistance army. They killed SS guards silently. Then they ran for freedom. Nazi death camps were designed to be inescapable. Prisoners at Sobibor refused to die. Revolted. 1. 300 prisoners survived the Sobibor uprising. Their escape forced Nazis to destroy the entire camp and hide the evidence. For 18 months, Jews were murdered daily at Sobibor. Then one day the prisoners killed their guards and ran through minefields toward life. Spring 1942, Eastern Poland. The Nazis construct Sobibor extermination camp in a remote forest near the village of Sobibor. It's part of Operation Reinhard, the systematic murder of Polish Jews. This isn't a concentration camp where prisoners work. This is a death factory. Jews arrive, get off trains, walk directly to gas chambers, die within hours. The camp is small, designed for efficiency. Arriving Jews are told they're at a transit camp. Showers are available. They'll be sent to work camps soon. Lies. All lies. The showers are gas chambers. Carbon monoxide from diesel engines pumps into sealed rooms. Victims suffocate in 15 minutes. The Nazis are meticulous. They've learned from earlier killing operations. Sobibor is designed to process trainloads of people quickly, keep victims calm, prevent resistance, maximum efficiency, minimum German personnel. Most guards are Ukrainian auxiliaries, collaborators recruited from Soviet POW camps. They're told Jews are enemies, deserve death. Many believe it. Between May 1942 and October 1943, at least 250,000 Jews are murdered at Sobibor. Men, women, children, entire communities, families. The victims come from Poland, the Netherlands, Slovakia, Germany, Austria. They arrive believing transport to work camps. They die believing lies. A small number of prisoners are kept alive, about 600 at any time. They sort belongings, process bodies, maintain the camp. These workers know the truth. They see the gas chambers, smell the cremation pits, know they're next when they're no longer useful. Among these 600 doomed prisoners, resistance is growing. Two men will soon transform despair into action. Leon Feldhendler and Alexander Pechersky. Leon Feldhendler arrives at Sobibor in May 1942. He's from Zalkiewka, Poland, son of a rabbi, businessman before the war. The Nazis made him a member of the local Judenrat, the Jewish council forced to administer Nazi orders. When his community was sent to Sobibor, Leon was selected for the work detail. He's 28 years old. He understands immediately that everyone here is condemned to death. Unlike most prisoners who descend into hopeless despair, Leon begins organizing. Quietly, carefully. He forms a secret resistance committee with other prisoners. They meet in shadows, speak in whispers, plan escape, but every plan fails before it starts. Tunnel attempts are discussed and abandoned. Too slow. Would take months. Guards patrol constantly. Dogs sniff for digging. Discovery means immediate execution not just for diggers but for entire barracks. Leon tries gathering intelligence about the surrounding area. Polish farmers sometimes deliver supplies. Prisoners who work outside the inner fence see the forest. But knowledge isn't enough. The camp is surrounded by 3 rings of barbed wire. Watchtowers at every corner. Minefields beyond the fences. Ukrainian guards with machine guns. Even if prisoners got outside, where would they go? The forest is dangerous. Polish locals might turn them in for rewards. Partisan groups might help or might shoot Jews on sight. Leon's committee discusses these problems endlessly. They need weapons. They need military knowledge. They need someone who understands tactics and combat. They need a miracle. In September 1943, the miracle arrives. His name is Alexander Pechersky. September 23, 1943. A transport from Minsk arrives at Sobibor. It contains Soviet prisoners of war. The Germans have made a terrible mistake. These aren't ordinary Jews rounded up from ghettos. These are Red Army soldiers, trained fighters, experienced in combat and survival. They've survived German POW camps where millions died. They're tough, disciplined, dangerous. Among them is Lieutenant Alexander Pechersky. He's 33 years old, born in Ukraine, trained as an accountant, but when war began, he joined the Red Army, fought on the front lines until captured in October 1941. He spent 2 years in POW camps. The Germans discovered he was Jewish in 1942, sent him to labor camps. He survived through strength and cunning. Now he's been sent to Sobibor with 79 other Soviet Jewish POWs. Petrovsky steps off the train and immediately understands what Sobibor is. The smell of burning bodies, the nervous behavior of guards, the terrified eyes of prisoners, the tall fence hiding something beyond. He's seen enough of Nazi camps to recognize a killing facility. But unlike the Polish and Dutch Jews who arrived believing Nazi lies, Petrovsky arrives knowing the truth. This changes everything. The Soviet POWs are selected for work detail instead of immediate death. Another German mistake. The Nazis assume these men are broken by years in camps. They're wrong. These soldiers are angry. They want revenge. And they have something the Polish Jews don't: military training. Within days, Leon Feldhendler and Alexander Petrovsky meet, the two leaders who will plan the impossible. Leon Feldhendler watches the Soviet POWs carefully. These men are different. They carry themselves differently. Walk with military bearing despite months in camps. They don't show fear like the other prisoners. They show calculation, assessment. They're sizing up the camp like soldiers analyzing a battlefield. Feldhendler needs to meet their leader. He identifies Petrovsky quickly. The other Soviet prisoners defer to him, look to him for guidance. Feldhendler arranges a meeting. They play chess as cover. Guards see two prisoners playing a game. Don't suspect they're planning rebellion. Over the chessboard they speak carefully. Feldhendler explains his failed attempts at organizing resistance, the tunnel plans that won't work, the impossibility of getting weapons, the certainty of death for everyone here. Petrovsky listens silently, studies the camp through military eyes. 600 prisoners, about 30 SS guards, 80 or 90 Ukrainian auxiliaries, watchtowers covering the wire, minefields beyond the fences. The challenges are enormous but not impossible. Every fortress has weaknesses. Every enemy makes mistakes. The key is finding the weakness and exploiting it before the enemy realizes what's happening. He tells Feldhendler his assessment. Tunnels won't work. Too slow. Will be discovered. Passive escape won't work. Need active escape. Need to kill the guards. Take their weapons. Cut phone lines. Let mass breakout during evening roll call when all prisoners are assembled. Simple plan. Extremely dangerous, but possible. Maybe the only thing that's possible. Feldhendler agrees immediately. Petrovsky has military experience, knows tactics, can organize soldiers. This is what the resistance committee needed: leadership, vision, a real plan instead of desperate fantasy. They begin recruiting carefully. Can't tell everyone. Informants might betray them. But they need enough people for coordinated attack. 20 trusted prisoners. That's enough. Petrovsky and Feldhendler recruit slowly. They identify prisoners who won't break under pressure, who hate the Germans enough to kill, who understand they're dead anyway so might as well die fighting. They find 20 men willing to participate in the core plan. Another 30 will be told just before the uprising. The rest will follow once the killing starts. They meet in secret locations: the carpentry shop, the tailor workshop, places where prisoners work and can whisper without guards hearing. They use code words. North means the gate. Tomorrow means weapons. If someone says, "My uncle is sick," it means guards are nearby. Stop talking. Petrovsky teaches basic military tactics: how to kill silently, where to strike with an axe or knife to ensure immediate death, how to approach a target without alerting others, how to coordinate simultaneous attacks. The Soviet POWs have combat experience. They demonstrate techniques, show the Polish and Dutch Jews how soldiers kill. It's brutal knowledge, necessary knowledge. They identify which SS officers to target first: the camp commandant, the deputy commandant, the senior guards, anyone with authority. Kill the leadership and the Ukrainian auxiliaries might panic, might not know what to do. That confusion buys seconds. Seconds are the difference between success and massacre. The conspirators create a timetable. October 14, 1943. Late afternoon during work hours when SS officers inspect different workshops. They'll be killed separately, silently, one by one, before anyone realizes what's happening. But they need weapons, real weapons for after the initial kills. And they need them without guards noticing. The prisoners can't obtain real weapons without alerting guards, but they can create fake weapons that look real from a distance. In the carpentry workshop, prisoners carve wooden guns, paint them black, add metal pieces to simulate barrels. From 10 feet away in dim light, they look like German rifles. That's close enough. They also sharpen tools: axes used for chopping wood, knives from the kitchen, metal pieces filed to points. These will kill the SS officers. The fake guns are for psychological effect. When prisoners run toward the gate holding what appear to be rifles, Ukrainian guards might hesitate, might think the prisoners captured German weapons. That hesitation buys seconds. Seconds to cut through wire. Seconds to reach the forest. Petrovsky organizes the attack teams. Team 1 kills the senior officers between 3:30 and 4 p.m. Team 2 takes the armory. Team 3 cuts phone lines. Team 4 opens the gates. Everyone else assembles for the breakout. At 4 p.m., the whistle blows for evening roll call. That's when the mass escape begins. 600 prisoners running simultaneously. Guards can't shoot everyone. Most will die, but some will make it. The conspirators understand the mathematics of escape. If 200 prisoners reach the forest, that's 200 lives saved. If 100 die getting there, that's still 100 who won't die in gas chambers. Better to die running toward freedom than walking into death. October 13, 1943. Final preparations. Tomorrow they fight. Tomorrow they die or escape. There's no middle option. October 14, 1943. Morning. The day begins like every other day at Sobibor. Prisoners wake at 5 a.m. Morning roll call. Work assignments. The SS guards see nothing unusual. The Ukrainian auxiliaries patrol as always. Dogs walk the perimeter. Everything appears normal. But among the 600 prisoners, 20 men know today is different. Today they fight back. Petrovsky moves through the camp giving final instructions. Speaks quietly to team leaders. Confirms everyone understands their roles. Timing is critical. If one officer isn't killed on schedule, he alerts others. The entire plan collapses. Everyone dies. Petrovsky shows no fear. Projects calm confidence. The other conspirators take strength from his composure. If this Soviet officer believes the plan will work, maybe it will. Feldhendler handles the Polish and Dutch prisoners. Many don't know about the uprising yet. Will be told at 3:30 p.m., just before it starts. Can't risk earlier because someone might break. Might tell a guard hoping to save himself. Happens in every camp. Informants trading information for extra food or delayed death. Can't trust everyone. Can't tell everyone. The women prisoners sense something is different. The men are tense, focused. Usually prisoners move through work like zombies. Today there's energy, purpose. Some women are in on the plan. As to Rob, Ida Lichtman, a few others, they'll fight too. Most women will find out when the killing starts. 3 p.m. 1 hour until the uprising begins. The SS officers start their afternoon inspections of the workshops. They walk into carefully prepared traps. 3:30 p.m. SS Oberscharfer Joseph Vallister enters the tailor's shop. He's inspecting uniforms being repaired. Wants a new coat. The head of the tailor's shop, prisoner Shlomo Leitman, shows him material. Asks Vallister to step into the back room for measurements. The SS officer follows. He's not suspicious. This happens routinely. Prisoners repair and alter German uniforms constantly. In the back room, 2 Soviet POWs wait. Boris Tabarsky and Yehuda Lerner. They're holding axes hidden behind a workbench. As Vallister turns to examine fabric, Tabarsky swings. The axe hits Vallister in the back of the head. He drops. Lerner strikes again. Vallister dies without making a sound. First blood. First dead SS guard. The uprising has begun. The conspirators drag Vallister's body under a bench. Cover it with cloth. No one can discover him yet. Other SS officers must die first. They take his pistol. Real weapon now. Ammunition. The body must stay hidden for 30 minutes. Long enough for the other killing teams to complete their missions. 3:45 p.m. SS Unterscharfer Joseph Wolf enters the shoemaker's workshop. Wants boots repaired. Prisoner Shlomo Podolik shows him into the back room. Soviet POW Alexander Shubiev waits with an axe. Wolf dies the same way as Vallister. Silent, efficient, body hidden, pistol taken. 2 SS officers dead. Guards haven't noticed anything wrong. The killing teams are succeeding. But they need to kill 11 SS officers total before 4 p.m. 9 more to go. 3:50 p.m. The killing continues. SS Scharfer Greischutz enters the carpentry shop. Soviet POW Arkady Weispaper kills him with an axe. Body hidden. Pistol taken. SS Oberscharfer Beckman walks into the leather workshop. Prisoner Shlomo Joel and Soviet POW Boris Cebulski kill him. Silent. They're getting efficient at this. Learning where to strike for instant death. No hesitation anymore. Other SS officers notice their colleagues are missing. Haven't returned from workshops. This is unusual. They investigate. Walk toward the carpentry shop. Prisoner lookouts see them coming. Signal the teams. The element of surprise is ending. Guards are becoming suspicious. 4 p.m. The uprising was supposed to start now. But not all SS officers are dead yet. Some are in locations the conspirators can't access. The armory hasn't been captured. Petrovsky makes a command decision. They can't wait any longer. Suspicion is growing. Soon guards will sound alarm. Better to start the breakout now with partial success than wait and lose everything. He gives the signal. A coded phrase shouted across the camp. The prisoners understand. Everyone moves toward the main gate. All 600 of them. Walking quickly. Some running. The element of surprise is gone, but momentum is building. Guards see mass movement. Hesitate. What's happening? Is this a roll call? No whistle blew. This isn't scheduled. Then they see prisoners holding what appear to be rifles. And the guards realize this isn't a drill. This is a revolt. 4:05 p.m. The main gate is locked. Prisoners surge toward it. Ukrainian guards on the watchtowers don't know what to do. Should they shoot? Are these prisoners authorized to be here? They look for SS officers. Can't find any. Where is the commandant? Where are the Germans who should be giving orders? Petrovsky and the Soviet POWs reach the gate first. They're armed with captured pistols and axes. They shoot the lock. It doesn't break. Shoot again. The lock shatters. The gate swings open. For the first time in 18 months, Sobibor's gate is open with prisoners alive on the other side. They run. But the Ukrainian guards in the towers finally understand this is an escape. They open fire. Machine guns sweep the prisoners. People fall, screaming, bleeding, dying 10 feet from freedom. The mass of prisoners behind push forward, stepping over bodies. Can't stop now. Stopping means death in gas chambers anyway. Forward is the only direction. Some prisoners don't run toward the gate. They're too far away. They see the wire fence and make desperate decisions. They run at the fence, try to climb over barbed wire. Some make it, shredded by wire but over. Others get caught, hang there. Guards shoot them. They die on the wire like grotesque scarecrows. But even dying, they create openings. Other prisoners use their bodies as shields, climb over the dead to reach freedom. The minefields are next. Prisoners don't know where mines are placed. They run blindly. Some step on mines. Explosions. Body parts. Survivors keep running. The Nazis planted minefields around Sobibor to prevent escapes. But they didn't mine everywhere. Too expensive. Too time-consuming. They mined likely escape routes. Areas near the main gate. Obvious paths toward the forest. But the conspirators guessed this. They told prisoners to scatter. Run in all directions. Spread out. Don't follow each other. Some paths have mines. Others don't. Random chance decides who lives. Explosions erupt as prisoners hit mines. The blast kills instantly. Body parts fly. Other prisoners see the explosions. Adjust their paths. Avoid those areas. They're using the dead to map safe routes. Horrific mathematics, but effective. More people reach the forest because earlier people died, showing where not to step. Some prisoners freeze when they see the explosions. Terror paralyzes them. Guards shoot these stationary targets easily. Other prisoners grab the frozen ones. Drag them forward. Keep moving. Movement is survival. Standing still is death. The psychological shock of 18 months in death camp makes some people unable to act. They've been conditioned to obey, to wait for orders, to not resist. Breaking that conditioning in seconds is impossible for some, but most run. 600 prisoners scattered across the fields. Guards in towers shoot but can't hit everyone. Too many targets. Too much chaos. Their training didn't prepare them for mass uprising. They assumed prisoners were passive. Assumed the system was unbreakable. The system is breaking in front of them and they don't know how to respond. Approximately 300 prisoners make it through the minefields into the forest. Another 300 die on the wire, in the minefields, or from gunfire. The escape is costing exactly the casualties Petrovsky predicted. The 300 prisoners who reach the forest scatter in all directions. No organized groups. Everyone running individually or in pairs. This is intentional. Petrovsky told them to separate. Harder for Germans to track many small groups than one large group. Most prisoners have no idea where they are. Don't know Polish geography. Don't know which direction leads to safety. They just run away from Sobibor. The forest is dense. Old growth trees. Thick underbrush. It's October. Leaves are falling. The ground is muddy. Prisoners are wearing camp clothing. Thin. Torn. Not suitable for outdoor survival. Many are barefoot. Shoes fell apart months ago. They run on bare feet across roots and rocks, bleeding. But they keep running because behind them is certain death. German SS and Ukrainian auxiliaries pursue on foot and horseback. They have dogs, trained to track escapees. The dogs are released. They chase scents. find prisoners hiding in bushes, behind trees, under fallen logs. Some prisoners are caught within hours, shot immediately. Others evade the initial pursuit, hide until nightfall, then move again under darkness. Petrovsky leads a group of about 50 Soviet POWs. They stay together because they have military training, know how to navigate by stars, know survival techniques. They move east toward Soviet lines. It's hundreds of miles away. Will take weeks if they survive. Avoiding German patrols, avoiding Polish locals who might betray them, finding food and water. It's another kind of death camp, just spread across a larger area. Back at Sobibor, SS reinforcements arrive. They find 11 dead SS officers, approximately 300 dead prisoners, and 300 missing. The camp commandant is furious, terrified. This should never have happened. October 14, 1943, evening. SS Obersturmbannführer Heinrich Himmler receives a report about Sobibor, a mass escape, hundreds of prisoners missing, multiple SS officers killed. This is catastrophic, not just the lost prisoners, the political implications. If word spreads that Jews successfully revolted, other camps might try. The entire extermination system depends on passive victims. This breaks that assumption. Himmler orders immediate lockdown of all Operation Reinhardt camps, Treblinka, Belzec, Majdanek, extra guards, stricter security. He also orders massive manhunt for Sobibor escapees, Wehrmacht troops, SS units, police. Everyone searches, roadblocks on every road, searches of every village. Any Jew found is shot immediately. Anyone hiding Jews is shot. Collective punishment for Polish villages. Anyone who helped escapees dies along with their entire family. The next day, October 15, Himmler issues another order. Sobibor must be destroyed, completely, dismantled, all evidence erased. The camp has served its purpose. 250,000 Jews murdered. But now it's a liability, proof that resistance is possible. Can't allow that. The gas chambers are demolished, buildings burned, bodies exhumed from mass graves and cremated, the ashes scattered, trees planted over the entire area. Within weeks, Sobibor ceases to exist as a physical place. Only a forest remains. But the escaped prisoners are still out there, and their survival is the ultimate rebellion. Every day they live is a day the Nazis failed to kill them. German forces flood the region around Sobibor. Thousands of troops searching for 300 escaped prisoners. They set up checkpoints, search forests systematically, use dogs to track scents. The Wehrmacht views this as training exercise. Hunting humans is practice for anti-partisan operations. They're thorough, brutal, efficient. Within days, German forces recapture or kill approximately 100 escaped prisoners. Some are found hiding in barns, others walking roads. A few try to return to their home villages thinking they could hide with former neighbors. Bad decision. Polish locals often turn in Jews for rewards, money, food, extra rations. Some Poles hate Germans but hate Jews more. Others fear German collective punishment. Entire villages burned if anyone shelters escapees. So they report Jews to save themselves. But about 200 prisoners evade the initial manhunt. They go deeper into forests, find caves, dig shelters underground. Some encounter Polish and Soviet partisan groups. Partisans are suspicious of Jews. Some partisan units kill Jews on sight, view them as German spies. Others accept Jewish fighters if they prove useful. Petrovsky and his Soviet POW group eventually link up with Soviet partisans. They have military training, know how to fight. Partisans accept them. Jewish prisoners without military training have harder time. They're refugees, civilians, not fighters. Partisans see them as liabilities, extra mouths to feed, can't fight, slow the group down. Many partisan commanders reject Jewish refugees, tell them to leave, find somewhere else, anywhere else. The escapees spend October and November 1943 hiding in freezing forests. Winter is coming. No shelter, little food. Many will die from exposure and starvation, but they'll die free. The Soviet partisan groups operating in eastern Poland are part of larger resistance network. They sabotage German supply lines, blow up trains, attack convoys, assassinate collaborators. It's guerrilla warfare, hit and run. Never face Germans in open battle. The Sobibor escapees who join partisan units become soldiers, finally able to fight back instead of just surviving. Petrovsky rises quickly in partisan ranks. He's trained officer, experienced leader, understands tactics and strategy. The partisan commanders give him command of small units, reconnaissance missions, sabotage operations. He fights well, leads successful attacks. Other Sobibor escapees follow his leadership. The skills they learned in the camp, survival, stealth, quiet killing, translate to partisan warfare. But life in partisan units is brutal. Constant movement, sleeping in forests, eating whatever can be scavenged, fighting running battles with German patrols, disease, wounds with no medical treatment. Many Sobibor survivors who joined partisans die in combat or from illness. They escape the gas chambers only to die fighting Germans in forest ambushes. Women survivors have additional dangers. Some partisan units exploit women, force them into sexual relationships with commanders and soldiers. Women have little choice. Accept exploitation or be expelled from the group. Die alone in forest. It's another form of powerlessness. Survival requires terrible compromises. Some women later testify about these abuses. Most stay silent. The alternative was death. By early 1944, Soviet forces are advancing westward, pushing Germans out of occupied territories. The partisans coordinate with regular Red Army units. Liberation is coming. But most Sobibor escapees won't live to see it. January 1944. Soviet forces liberate the region around Sobibor. Petrovsky and other surviving escapees emerge from forests. They're barely recognizable, emaciated, sick, wearing rags, but alive. Petrovsky immediately rejoins the Red Army. He's still a serving officer. Resumes active duty. Fights through 1944 and into 1945. Participates in the Soviet advance into Germany. Survives the entire war. After Germany surrenders in May 1945, Petrovsky expects recognition. He led the only successful death camp uprising, freed hundreds of prisoners, killed SS guards. This should be celebrated. Instead, Soviet authorities view him with suspicion. He was captured by Germans in 1941, survived multiple camps. Why did he survive when millions died? Soviet doctrine assumed anyone who survived German captivity must be a collaborator, traitor, spy. The NKVD interrogates Petrovsky repeatedly, questions his loyalty, accuses him of collaboration. He explains the uprising, provides witness testimony from other survivors. Eventually, Soviet authorities accept his story, but he's not celebrated, not promoted, not given medals. The Soviet Union under Stalin doesn't want stories about Jews resisting. Doesn't fit the propaganda narrative that Russians liberated everyone. Jews are supposed to be passive victims rescued by heroic Soviets. Petrovsky's story complicates that. He's assigned to routine military duties, peacetime bureaucracy. After everything he survived and accomplished, he's processing paperwork in a provincial garrison. It's insulting, infuriating, but he endures. What choice does he have? Petrovsky will spend decades fighting for recognition, fighting to tell the truth about Sobibor, and fighting Soviet anti-Semitism that wants to erase his story. Leon Feldhendler escapes Sobibor with the first wave of prisoners. He makes it through the minefields, reaches the forest, survives the initial German manhunt. 4 months he hides in Polish forests, occasionally sheltered by sympathetic Polish families who risk their lives to help. Most Poles won't help. Some actively hunt Jews for rewards. But a few righteous people hide him, feed him, keep him alive. 1944 Soviet forces liberate Poland. Feldhendler emerges from hiding, returns to his home region, finds his entire family dead. Parents, siblings, wife, children, all murdered at Sobibor or other camps. He's the only survivor. Everything and everyone he knew is gone, but he's alive. He helped hundreds of people escape. That means something. Has to mean something. April 2nd, 1945. Leon Feldhendler is murdered in Lublin, Poland, shot by Polish anti-Semites. The war in Europe is weeks from ending. The Nazis are defeated, but Polish anti-Semitism survives. Groups of Poles attack Jews returning from camps and hiding places. They want Jews' property, want Jews gone permanently, don't want survivors reclaiming homes and businesses. Feldhendler survived 18 months at Sobibor, survived the uprising, survived living in forests, survived liberation. Then dies from Polish bullets weeks before final Nazi surrender. He's 31 years old, one of the architects of the only successful death camp mass escape, murdered by the people he thought were fellow victims of Nazi occupation. His death illustrates tragic truth. Liberation from Nazis didn't mean safety for Jews. Anti-Semitism survived Nazi defeat. Many survivors continued facing violence and hatred after the war ended. Of the approximately 300 prisoners who escaped Sobibor on October 14, 1943, Only about 50 survived until the end of World War II. The majority died during the escape itself, shot by guards, killed by mines, caught and executed in the weeks following. Others died in forests from exposure, starvation, and disease. Some joined partisan units and died in combat. A few were betrayed by Polish civilians and handed over to Germans. The 50 who survived until 1945 did so through combination of luck, skill, and help from sympathetic Poles and partisans. Some hid in Polish homes for years, living in attics and cellars, never seeing sunlight, dependent completely on families risking death to shelter them. Others fought with partisans, used skills learned in the uprising to become effective resistance fighters, survived through combat ability and military discipline. Among the survivors were Thomas Blatt, Esther Robb, Chaim Engel, Stanislaus Smajner, and Selma Wigenberg. These individuals became key witnesses at post-war trials. They testified about Sobibor's operations, the gas chambers, the murders, the uprising. Their testimony convicted SS guards and commanders, ensured justice for some of the perpetrators. But trauma haunted survivors forever. Nightmares, guilt over surviving when so many died, difficulty forming relationships, trust issues, depression, what we now call PTSD. In the 1940s and 50s, mental health treatment was primitive. Survivors were expected to move on, forget, rebuild. Most couldn't. Yet despite their trauma, survivors dedicated their lives to testimony, to ensuring the world knew what happened at Sobibor, to preventing denial and historical erasure. After World War II ends, Allied authorities hunt Nazi war criminals. The Sobibor staff scatters. Some SS guards are captured immediately. Others hide, assume false identities, blend into post-war chaos. A few escape to South America, but eventually many are found, brought to trial, forced to face their crimes. The most significant Sobibor trial occurs in Hagen, West Germany from 1965 to 1966. 11 former SS guards and Ukrainian auxiliaries stand accused of murder and crimes against humanity. Survivors testify. Thomas Blatt describes the gas chambers. Esther Robb explains the sorting process where prisoners' belongings were taken. Stanislaus Smajner testifies about forced labor and constant beatings. Their testimony is detailed, specific, undeniable. The defendants employ predictable defenses. They were following orders, didn't know about the gas chambers, just guarded the perimeter, weren't personally involved in killings. These lies collapse under survivor testimony. The witnesses saw everything. Remember faces. Remember specific guards and their actions. The evidence is overwhelming. The court convicts 6 defendants. Sentences range from 3 years to life imprisonment. By modern standards, these sentences seem inadequate. Mass murderers receiving years instead of decades. But in 1960s West Germany, any convictions for Holocaust crimes were significant. Many Nazis never faced trial, lived quietly until old age. The Sobibor verdicts represented partial justice, incomplete but important. Other trials followed in different countries. Soviet courts tried Ukrainian guards, convicted several, executed some. Israel tried John Demjanjuk in the 2000s, accused of being Sobibor guard, convicted in 2011, died during appeal in 2012. The trials ensured Sobibor wouldn't be forgotten, that the 250,000 murdered victims would be acknowledged, that survivors' testimony became part of official historical record. Resistance attempts occurred at other Nazi death camps. Treblinka had uprising in August 1943. About 200 prisoners escaped. Fewer than 100 survived the war. Auschwitz-Birkenau had Sonderkommando revolt in October 1944. Prisoners blew up one crematorium. All participants killed. Dozens of smaller resistance acts occurred across the camp system. Most failed completely. Sobibor is the only mass escape that succeeded significantly. What? Several factors. First, leadership. Petrosky's military training provided tactical knowledge that other camps lacked. He understood timing, coordination, resource allocation. He planned like a soldier, not a desperate prisoner. Second, the Soviet POWs. They brought combat experience, discipline, willingness to kill. They weren't broken psychologically like prisoners who'd spent years in camps. Third, timing. Sobibor was smaller than Auschwitz. Fewer guards, less complex layout, easier to coordinate complete takeover. They attacked at shift change when guards were distracted. Fourth, secrecy. Only 20 people knew the full plan initially. Harder to betray limited group. Fifth, desperation. By October 1943, prisoners knew transports to Sobibor were stopping. Camp would close soon. They'd all be killed. Nothing to lose by fighting. Finally, luck. If guards discovered one killed officer 5 minutes earlier, the plan collapses. If the armory had been secured, uprising fails. If more mines were planted in escape routes, casualties double. Multiple things had to go right. They did. Barely. But enough. Sobibor proves resistance was possible. Even in death camps. Even against Nazi security. Courage and planning could defeat evil. That lesson resonates beyond Holocaust history. For decades after the war, Sobibor's exact location was uncertain. The Nazis destroyed everything. Planted trees. Erased evidence. Local Polish residents knew approximately where the camp stood, but precise boundaries were unclear. No buildings remained. No obvious traces of gas chambers or mass graves. The forest reclaimed the land. Nature covered Nazi crimes. 2000s. Archaeological teams begin systematic excavation, using ground-penetrating radar, metal detectors, careful digging. They find the camp's foundations, brick from destroyed buildings, metal fragments, personal items, jewelry, eyeglasses, children's toys, physical evidence of the 250,000 people murdered here, and evidence of the uprising, bullet casings, fragments of axes and knives used to kill guards, physical proof matching survivor testimony. 2014 archaeologists discover the gas chambers, buried under soil and vegetation. The brick structures where carbon monoxide killed hundreds of thousands. Finding them confirms survivor accounts, validates their testimony. No denier can claim gas chambers didn't exist. Here they are, excavated, photographed, documented. The physical evidence is undeniable. The excavations also find escape tunnels, attempts that failed before the October uprising. Prisoners tried multiple times to dig out. These tunnels collapsed or were abandoned. Physical proof of persistent resistance. Jews didn't go passively. They fought constantly. Most attempts failed, but they kept trying. And finally, on October 14, 1943, one attempt succeeded. The archaeological site becomes memorial, museum, educational center, place where people learn what happened, see physical evidence, understand that Holocaust denial is lie contradicted by ground beneath their feet. Sobibor can't be erased, can't be denied. The evidence exists, the testimony exists, the memory exists, and it demands we remember. Thomas Blatt escaped Sobibor at age 15, survived hiding in Polish forests. After the war, he emigrated to the United States, built a life in California, but he never forgot, never stopped talking about Sobibor. He became a witness, author, educator, dedicated his entire adult life to ensuring people knew what happened. He wrote books, gave thousands of speeches, testified at trials, consulted on documentaries. Every year he told his story to new audiences, school children, university students, military officers, politicians. He described the gas chambers, the uprising, the escape, the deaths, the survival. He answered questions patiently even when they were ignorant or offensive. He believed education prevented future genocides. Blatt returned to Sobibor multiple times, visited the memorial site, met with other survivors. These reunions were painful, brought back memories he'd rather forget. But he went anyway because bearing witness was his responsibility. He owed it to the 250,000 who died, to the 300 who died escaping, to Leon Feldhendler and Alexander Petrovsky who gave him a chance at life. He lived until 2015, died at age 88. His final years were spent fighting Holocaust deniers online, writing articles, recording video testimony. He knew survivors were dying. Soon there would be no living witnesses. The testimony had to be preserved, documented, made permanent. His life's work was memory, ensuring Sobibor wouldn't become footnote, wouldn't be forgotten. Thomas Blatt's mission succeeded. Today Sobibor is taught in schools, studied in universities, remembered in museums, because he and other survivors refused to let the world forget. Esther Robb was 17 when she arrived at Sobibor. She survived the camp, survived the uprising, escaped into the forest, hid with partisan groups, survived the war. But survival came with cost, physical injuries, psychological trauma, loss of entire family. She was alone in the world at age 20. Everyone she loved was dead. After the war, Esther struggled with survivor's guilt. Why did she live when her mother and siblings died? She wasn't stronger or smarter or more deserving, just luckier. Random chance determined who lived and who entered gas chambers. That knowledge haunted her, made her question the fairness of universe, made her question God. How could God allow Sobibor? How could divine justice permit 250,000 murders? She eventually found purpose through testimony. She spoke at trials, gave interviews. Her testimony was particularly valuable because she worked in the sorting barracks, saw the entire arrival process, knew how Nazis deceived victims, how they stole belongings, how they separated families, how they rushed people toward gas chambers while lying about showers and work camps. Her details corroborated other survivors, proved the systematic nature of the murders. Esther's testimony helped convict SS guards. Her words sent murderers to prison. That brought small measure of justice. Not enough, never enough, but something. She believed testimony was her duty. She survived so she could witness, tell the truth, ensure the dead were remembered, that their murders had meaning beyond Nazi body counts. Esther lived until 2015. Like Blatt, she spent her final years preserving testimony, making sure younger generations knew, understood, remembered. Her mission was memory, and memory is the only immortality victims can have. Alexander Petrovsky was one man, Soviet POW, accountant before the war. No special training in resistance or uprising, just a soldier who knew tactics and refused to accept death passively. His leadership transformed despair into action. His planning turned 600 doomed prisoners into fighting force. His courage inspired others to risk everything for chance at survival. Without Petrovsky, Sobibor uprising probably doesn't happen. Leon Feldhendler tried for months to organize resistance, failed repeatedly, lacked military knowledge, lacked authority, lacked the specific skills needed to plan coordinated attack. Petrovsky brought those skills. Combined with Feldhendler's knowledge of the camp, they created a plan that worked. One person made the difference. One soldier who decided to fight instead of die, who shared knowledge instead of hoarding it, who took responsibility for leadership when easier path was avoiding it. Petrovsky could have kept his head down, worked until killed. Nobody would blame him. But he chose differently, chose to fight, to organize, to lead, to risk death trying to save others. This is lesson of Sobibor. Individuals matter. One person with courage and skill can change outcomes, can transform impossible situation into survivable one, can inspire others to act instead of accept. Petrovsky wasn't superhuman, wasn't chosen by destiny, just a man who made choice, and that choice saved lives, changed history, proved resistance was possible even in hell. Every person has that choice, to act or accept, to fight or surrender, to lead or follow. Petrovsky chose action, and 300 people lived because of his choice. The Sobibor uprising didn't just free prisoners. It forced Nazis to change their entire Operation Reinhardt strategy. Himmler ordered Sobibor's destruction, complete dismantlement. The camp never reopened. No more murders at Sobibor after October 1943. That strategic victory. The uprising ended the killing at one death camp permanently. But consequences went further. Treblinka uprising happened 2 months earlier in August 1943. 2 successful uprisings at death camps in 3 months. This panicked Nazi leadership. If Jews were fighting back at extermination centers, the entire system was at risk. Other camps might revolt. The carefully constructed deception that camps were transit facilities was breaking down. Victims were learning the truth, and truth made them dangerous. The Nazis accelerated the dismantlement of all Operation Reinhardt camps. Treblinka closed November 1943. Belzec closed earlier in 1943. Majdanek continued operating but with increased security. The systematic murder of Polish Jews shifted from dedicated extermination camps to Auschwitz-Birkenau. Auschwitz had better security, larger guard force, more complex layout, harder to organize mass uprising. This shift saved no lives. Nazis continued murdering Jews, but the method changed because of resistance. Sobibor and Treblinka uprisings forced Nazi adaptation, proved that even totalitarian killing machine could be disrupted, could be forced to respond to prisoner actions. That's significance beyond numbers. It proves resistance matters, always, even when it fails, even when it succeeds only partially. The 300 who escaped Sobibor didn't just save themselves. They changed how Nazis conducted genocide, made it harder, more complicated, less efficient. That's victory most people never recognize. Holocaust deniers claim Sobibor never existed. Call survivor testimony lies. Claim archaeological evidence was planted. Say the 250,000 death count is fabrication. These denials are lies, intentional, malicious, designed to rehabilitate Nazi ideology by erasing Nazi crimes. But denial can't survive evidence. The archaeological excavations prove Sobibor existed. Physical remains, gas chamber foundations, personal items, bullet casings, everything matches survivor testimony. Deniers claim archaeologists fabricated evidence, but excavations were filmed, documented, peer-reviewed. International teams verified findings. Multiple countries, multiple institutions. Impossible to fake consistently. Nazi documents prove Sobibor existed. Transportation records, supply requisitions, SS personnel files. Himmler's order to destroy the camp. These documents are in multiple archives, verified by historians worldwide. Deniers claim documents are forgeries, but handwriting analysis, paper dating, ink composition, all confirm authenticity. You can't forge thousands of documents across dozens of archives without detection. Survivor testimony proves Sobibor existed. 50 people with consistent stories, details that match each other, match physical evidence, match Nazi documents. Deniers claim survivors are liars. But why would 50 people spread across different countries create identical lies? What's their motive? There is none. The testimony is true because it's verifiable. Sobibor existed. 250,000 Jews were murdered there. 600 prisoners revolted. 300 escaped. 50 survived. These are facts. Documented. Proven. Undeniable. Holocaust denial isn't historical debate. It's moral failure. It's choosing lie over truth because truth is uncomfortable. We remember Sobibor not just to honor the dead, but to arm ourselves against those who would deny their deaths. Memory is weapon against denial. Some Polish citizens helped Sobibor escapees, hid them, fed them, risked their own lives and their families' lives. The Nazis executed anyone caught helping Jews. Entire families killed, villages burned, collective punishment. Yet some Poles helped anyway, chose humanity over safety. These individuals are recognized as righteous among the nations by Israel's Yad Vashem Memorial. One such family, the Kosmans, hid multiple Sobibor escapees in their barn for months, fed them from their own limited food supplies, warned them when German patrols were nearby. The Kosmans survived the war. Their aid helped several escapees survive until liberation. After the war, survivors testified about the Kosmans' bravery. Yad Vashem recognized them, planted a tree in their honor. Small recognition for risking everything. But the Kosmans were exceptions. Most Poles didn't help. Some actively hunted Jews for rewards. After the war, survivors reported that Polish civilians were often more dangerous than German patrols. Germans searched systematically. Poles knew the forest, knew hiding places, knew who might shelter Jews. Their local knowledge made them effective hunters. And Nazi rewards motivated many. This created impossible moral calculations for escapees. Who to trust? Approach wrong person and you die. Some prisoners knocked on doors desperately. Some were sheltered. Some were turned in immediately. Random chance again. Your survival depended on whether the person who opened the door was righteous or opportunistic. Most were neither. Just scared. Caught between Nazi violence and their own prejudices. The righteous few proved that choice existed. People could help. Most chose not to. That's the tragedy. Not that evil existed, but that good people did nothing. Alexander Petrovsky survived the war, returned to Soviet Union, expected recognition, got suspicion instead. Soviet authorities under Stalin viewed Jewish survivors with distrust. Why did you survive when millions died? Must be collaboration. Must be treachery. The NKVD interrogated Petrovsky repeatedly. His war record, his capture, his time in camps, the uprising, everything was questioned. Soviet propaganda didn't want Jewish resistance stories. The narrative was Russian liberation, heroic Red Army saving victims. Jews were supposed to be passive victims rescued by Soviets. Petrovsky's story complicated that. He wasn't rescued. He rescued himself and hundreds of others. This didn't fit Stalin's propaganda needs, so the story was suppressed. Petrovsky tried publishing his account. Soviet censors blocked it, tried giving interviews. Forbidden. The uprising that should have made him national hero made him persona non grata. Soviet anti-Semitism ensured Jewish heroism was minimized or erased. Only after Stalin's death in 1953 did some recognition come, but limited, controlled, never full acknowledgement. In the 1960s, during the West German trials of Sobibor guards, Soviet authorities finally allowed Petrovsky to testify. His testimony was crucial, convicted multiple SS officers, but in Soviet Union he remained obscure. Only after the USSR collapsed in 1991 did his story become widely known in Russia. Full recognition came decades too late. Petrovsky died in 1990, age 80, 1 year before Soviet collapse. He never saw full recognition of his achievement. His story illustrates that surviving wasn't enough. Surviving with dignity, with truth, with recognition, that required fighting the Soviet system. Another form of resistance he endured for decades. Sobibor is taught in Holocaust education programs worldwide. Students learn about the death camp, the murders, the uprising, the escape. The purpose is ensuring this history isn't forgotten, isn't repeated. Education is prevention. Understanding how genocide happens makes people more likely to recognize and resist early warning signs. But teaching Sobibor is challenging. The horror is overwhelming. Gas chambers, mass murder, 250,000 dead. How do you teach this to teenagers without traumatizing them? How do you make it meaningful instead of just depressing? Educators struggle with this balance. Too much graphic detail creates emotional shutdown. Too little detail allows abstraction, makes Holocaust seem distant, unreal. The uprising provides teaching angle. It shows resistance, shows human agency even in impossible circumstances. Students can relate to prisoners who fought back, who refused to accept death passively. This creates engagement, makes Holocaust personal instead of statistical. 6 million dead is abstract. 600 prisoners fighting for survival is concrete, human, understandable. Survivors like Thomas Blatt and Esther Robb visited schools for decades, spoke directly to students, answered questions, made Holocaust real through personal testimony. But survivors are gone now. Last generation with living memory. Future Holocaust education relies on recorded testimony, documents, archaeological evidence, physical places like Sobibor Memorial. These must carry the memory forward. The question is whether memory survives without living witnesses, whether future generations will care, whether the lessons will be learned or ignored. That depends on what we do now, how we teach, how we remember, how we ensure Sobibor isn't forgotten when everyone who was there is dead. Sobibor teaches multiple lessons about evil, about resistance, about courage, about human nature at its worst and best. But the ultimate lesson is simpler. Never give up, even when situation seems hopeless, even when death is certain, even when resistance appears pointless. Never give up. The prisoners at Sobibor had every reason to accept death. They were outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded by minefields and wire, watched by guards with machine guns, betrayed by local populations, abandoned by the world that ignored reports of genocide. Logic said resistance was suicide. Accepting death was rational. But they refused. They fought anyway. And fighting mattered. 300 escaped. 50 survived the war. 50 people who would have died in gas chambers lived instead. Had children, grandchildren, built lives. Those lives exist because prisoners at Sobibor refused to accept the unacceptable. Refused to die quietly. Their resistance created futures that wouldn't have existed. This is why we remember Sobibor. Not just to honor the dead, but to learn from the living. From those who fought, who resisted, who proved that even in hell humans can fight for life, for dignity, for each other. The Nazis designed Sobibor to erase Jews, make them disappear without trace. The uprising ensured that didn't happen, ensured the world would know, would remember, would never forget. Sobibor stands as testament to evil, to resistance, to the truth that fighting back matters. Always, even when you lose, even when you die trying, because sometimes incredibly you win. And when you win, you don't just save yourself. You save everyone who comes after. Everyone who needs to know that resistance is possible, that evil can be fought, that hope survives even in darkness. October 14, 1943. 600 Jewish prisoners revolted at Sobibor death camp. They killed 11 SS guards with axes and knives. 300 escaped into Polish forests. Approximately 50 survived the war. Their uprising forced the Nazis to destroy Sobibor completely. The camp never reopened. No more murders after that day. The prisoners' resistance ended the killing. Alexander Petrovsky led the revolt. Leon Feldhendler organized the resistance. Thomas Blatt and Esther Robb testified at trials. Their courage saved lives. Their testimony ensured justice. Sobibor proves that resistance is always possible. That even in hell humans can fight back. Remember Sobibor. Remember that hope survives darkness. Never give up. Never forget.